Okay. Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Sabbath class, the 7th of January 2023. This morning we had a pretty good conversation, pretty good class. Like I said, I was gonna make 2 parts out of it for the Sabbath. We're gonna do part 2 now. It's the genealogy, ancestry, and lands. So I'm asking everybody to go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. It's a lot of information given, and the videos will connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures, which is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. If you like what you are hearing and receiving on the channel, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay. And those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, and the Torah being the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening. Welcome to our evening Sabbath class. We're going to do our moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, evening Sabbath prayer, Psalms, some current events, a little need to know information. And then we're going to go open it up for some Q&A to see if somebody have any questions about doing their studies or doing their readings. Okay. So this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and our Creator, Yahweh, and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come this day praising Thee and worshiping Thee with our might and our power and our great understanding. Oh Lord, the end times that You have foretold to our forefathers are upon us. Oh Lord, give us strength and wisdom to endure all that Thou hast foretold. And thank You for another Shabbat. Give us, O Lord, the knowledge to rightly divide Thy word, that they are delivered in righteousness and in truth. And there's great confusion among Your inheritance, O Lord, now that You are awakening them. And I know, Lord, that Your hand is sure and that Your hand is firm. Oh Lord, we need You so very much in these latter days, and we will tarry and depend upon You, O Lord, because there is none else besides You, O Lord, who can deliver us. Peace be unto You. Okay. So with that being said, we'll read the Psalms. Okay. I'm gonna read Psalms 37. Got that time again for me to read it. Okay. Psalms 37. It's the true state of the wicked. It's a Psalm of David. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut off, cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord, do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, He shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. And He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for Him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall be, yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bow shall be broken. A little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arm of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil times, and in the days of famine they shall not be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borrow, payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil, do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not have him in his hand, leave him in his hands, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, keep his way. He shall exalt thee to inherit the land when the wicked are cut off. Thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought for him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. So that was Psalm 37. It's the true state of the wicked. And the song right here pretty much speak for itself. All you got to do is read it. Okay. Anybody got any comments? Okay. So we got a couple of current events right here, and then we'll go into our need to know information.
Going to be worse than anyone has ever seen before. Those are the words from the world's largest investment manager, BlackRock, talking about the recession going to be worse than anyone has foretold. That's troubling. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, welcome into the Investing in Real Estate show. I'm Clayton Morris. So glad to have you all here. Our goal is to make you a more intelligent real estate investor on this show. The reason we invest in real estate is for the tax benefits and as a massive hedge against inflation. Ultimate wealth building tool, in my opinion, has been used for 4,000 years, right alongside gold, as a way to protect and preserve wealth through famine, through collapse of governments. Again, this is why so many people are buying up gold and buying up real estate right now, because of those very reasons. So batten down the hatches on this Q&A episode. We're going to listen to 3 of your calls today. If you go to our website, morrisinvest.com, you can click on the microphone icon on the right-hand side of your screen and leave us a voicemail question. So we will get to 3 of your questions today on the show. But first, just a little bit more on this BlackRock news that's just out today. They say a recession is foretold as central banks race to try to tame inflation. It's the opposite of past recessions. They're saying that the economy has already exited a 4-decade period of stable growth and inflation, and has now entered a period of heightened instability. And folks, we've already been telling you, because they're continuing to print. As they continue, central banks aggressively are boosting borrowing costs in an effort to tame inflation. And inflation is, of course, running away. So they continue to print more money, thinking that they're going to get us out of it by printing more and more. That's what got us into this mess. It's absolute madness, right? And if you see Russia start to only accept gold in addition to the ruble for their oil, it's game over. You're going to see gold go from, $1,700 or $1,800 an ounce up to $3,600 an ounce in some price predictions that I saw this past week. So you are about to see a major shift away from government fiat currencies, because they are absolutely devaluing and debasing their currencies, more towards hard assets, specifically gold, silver, and real estate. So folks, get ready. This is what BlackRock is saying. They said central bankers won't ride to the rescue when this growth slows down in this new regime. Equity valuations don't yet reflect the damage that is coming ahead. What worked in the past won't work now, says BlackRock. The old playbook of simply buying the dip doesn't apply in this regime of sharper trade-offs and greater macro volatility. Requests, putting stamps on envelopes.
Want to take the guesswork out of your network?
Going to the post office. Every task that you do every day for your business or your life, write it all down. And then see if there's things on that list that are drudgery for you, right? Like, I hate doing spreadsheets, so I don't, right? I let someone else handle that, and I outsource that. I'm not a good bookkeeper, so I don't do that. I outsource that. So look at this whole list of things that you're doing, and then start to break them into little groups. Things that you really want to do, that you love doing, great, continue to do those things. Things that are really impactful and helpful for your business, great. Do I need to do those? Or can I also have someone else helping me do those? And then what are the things that are in that drudgery zone, as Michael Hyatt calls it, the drudgery zone? If those are the things that are causing you anxiety, how can you outsource those things? And then start to break them into separate projects. So that's what I'm going to be doing during the holidays. I've got a lot on my plate these days.
If your retirement plans depend on your portfolio.
Let me just give you an example again. So again, our properties, the minimum down payment for one of our new construction properties is about $50,000. And a lot of our clients have a home equity line of credit that they use to make that purchase. And so they'll use $50,000 from their home equity line, and then they pay that back using the rent from the tenant in the property. And remember, there's 3 stages of real estate investing: buy, own, and cash flow. So as long as you're acquiring properties and you're not really experiencing the cash flow just yet, like you're not reaping the benefits of it and living your dream life with the cash flow, but what you're doing in that period of time is you're accumulating wealth, because now the tenant is paying.
Okay. So what he was warning us about is that the recession that we see, we already in it. He said it's going to get a whole lot worse than what anybody even imagined. Okay. I got one more. Did you get that link, Mark Hill? I sent it again. I don't know if you got it the first time or not.
Financial capital is collapsing. 70% of Shanghai's residents have been infected with the Wuhan virus. I repeat, 70%. That's the claim of a top doctor. Is this doomsday? Well, I don't see why not. Shanghai has a population of 26.3 million. Of them, 20 million people are infected. This is as grim as it gets. And for China, it means a double whammy. Its healthcare takes a hit, its economy suffers as well. China relies on Shanghai for growth. Shanghai also has the largest GDP of all Chinese cities. We are looking at 4.32 trillion yuan, or $679 billion. Shanghai has the world's third largest stock market. Some 800 MNCs have regional or country headquarters here. 70,000 non-Chinese companies have offices here. If Shanghai falls, China's place in the global economy falls. Its claim as the world's factory falls. And guess what? Shanghai has fallen. And China is silent, like it has been for a while now. Silent on the number of cases, silent on the real number of deaths. Too bad China's actions are speaking on Beijing's behalf. The message is one of panic. As I speak, China is carrying out sewage surveillance. What is that? The wastewater from toilets and sinks is being tested. Next question, why? Because some experts believe water data can actually detect infections before clinical data. Does science back this claim? Hardly. But it's not like China is spoiled for choice here. Its healthcare system has clearly collapsed. Else it would not need to snoop around people's wastewater. Think of it this way, if 70% Shanghai residents are infected, what are the chances other cities would be any different? So let's take a conservative estimate. Let's assume that 50% of the people in other cities and counties are infected. That adds up to almost 50% of 1.4 billion. Do the math. The result is a disaster, one that's very much in line with what the world was expecting. Jeffrey Shaman, an epidemiologist at Columbia University, for example, recently told a news outlet that he expects up to infections in China in 2023, 900 million. Does China have the capacity to cater to the healthcare needs of these many people? The answer is simple, and it is a no. Chinese President Xi Jinping knows that. And so he has conveniently given up, flung open the border gates, and watching the dance of disaster unfold.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. Everybody good? Okay, I got a little need to know information right here. I'm gonna play it.
Seeing these conversations, about other groups, especially Asian Americans. This one, woman who's Asian American is going to talk about, really what their position is in white supremacy and definitely in relation to us and with Black people. Let's go ahead and roll that.
I think the quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege, especially the Asian Americans who fit the model minority stereotype. The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture, which means being anti-Black. I was talking with somebody last night who was pointing out that the Civil Rights Amendment was passed in 1964, but also in the 1960s, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration. So now you have an influx of racial minorities who knew nothing about the history of white violence against Black people, knew nothing about the Black civil rights movement. So they arrived with civil rights, not understanding how that came to be. And also it effectively erased the United States' own anti-Asian history, because Asian Americans came in not necessarily knowing about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. And I think that Asian Americans are used as a buffer between the Black community and the white community, because in the 1960s, there was almost a racial reckoning. The white power structure almost had to face accountability for the history of violence against Black people. But instead, Asian Americans were inserted and were pit against each other, so that we're always up against each other, and that basically white supremacy escapes accountability. And the example that I think of that sort of started like the root of a lot of tension is Asian Americans were buying into the negative media stereotypes of Black people. And then in the events that led up to what became known as the LA riots, the LAPD kettled protests away from wealthy white neighborhoods and into Koreatown, and then they left. And we know how that played out. So again, the two communities being pitted against each other, and away from the white power structure. And obviously the model minority myth is used to oppress the Black community. And there's so much here. I will be getting more into it, but I feel like that's the quickest answer that I can give that gets a little bit into the history. And I'm really curious to know what the Black community and Asian Americans feel about this. But please be patient with me. Thank you.
Now you hear her clearly say that, you know, they're used as a buffer group between the white supremacists and Black Americans. She clearly said that. She clearly said that to basically assimilate into America, you must assimilate into anti-Blackness if you want to be in good with the white supremacists. Because white supremacist culture is anti-Blackness. That's what it's built on. If you remove anti-Blackness away from their culture, they have no culture. You understand? What a second demented culture to build is that you got to build it off of the hatred of one group of people. And then when you have Asian Americans, we play that game with them too, like the darker Asians, like your Filipinos and Cambodians, etc. They'll treat the lighter skinned ones like the Japanese and the Koreans and all them, they'll treat them better than they'll treat the darker skinned Asians. Or they'll allow more of the lighter skinned Asians to come than the darker skinned Asians. Oh, it's a big game that they play. But even though she say they may not know, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear no I didn't know, because we have the internet now. We have Google. You can research. You can find out certain things. There's no excuse anymore that we don't know anything. But what I try to tell Black people is this: all these other groups is incentivized to have anti-Black racism toward us, incentivized to do so by the white supremacists. This is why more and more Black people every day are saying, okay, I get why now when they try to say, oh, well, no, it's not. We have people of color that is used to try to not deal with anti-Black racism and white supremacy. You understand?
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody aware of that?
Well, I think part of it is this is Tasha. The other part of that is that they, during that time where they let them come into our country, as what they do with the people from the Middle East, they incentivize them by giving them access to loans and resources that they don't give us access to when they allow them to come into our country. And they specifically put those resources in the Black community. So when you see that 90% of Black hair products that are sold to African American people, particularly women, most of the time you see those stores are owned by Asian Americans, not Black
Right.
people.
Exactly.
So those are another tool that they utilize to say or give them this false impression that they're better than us by giving them opportunities they don't give us and then mixing them in with us to kind of throw that in our face, the same way they do with the people from the Middle East that come over here now, with the restaurants and the gas stations and stuff. Those restaurants and stuff, they're in our community. They're not in the white community.
Exactly. Right. And they giving them the money. They setting them up with the whole system, the whole process. They setting them up. They doing just the opposite with us. So what we just heard, we see that's the playbook. That's the playbook for any other nation except us. Yeah. Anybody else have a comment on that? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is right here. So we're gonna be on it for about an hour. I'm opening it up for some questions, comments, or anything about a question you may have that you come across, something you want to get explained, or you want to dialogue about something. Yeah, now is the time. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything?
If nobody else has any questions, I have a question.
What's that?
So, when I was on, I think it was on Tuesday, or Thursday, we
Right.
were, we had was talking about, we had went back to the Old Testament, Genesis, and we were talking about, Michael and Yah. And so I was trying to figure out, when you were going through Genesis, how did you distinguish? And I was talking to Michelle about it, and that's part of what we're going to be studying on tomorrow, is looking at how did you distinguish between, when it was Michael and when it was God? Because I've read Genesis a million times, and I never knew the difference. And even seeing it now, I don't always know who is who because of the way that it's written.
Right, right. Yeah, that was a work that these Edomites done when they came with the New Testament. They had to eliminate Michael role because they put Jesus in his role. So they started making it. They started using words, vague words like God and Lord and all that to throw you off. But when you understand, like I said, you get your book of Enoch, and then you find out the order, and then you understand what these words mean. Like for example, the Enoch, Elohim. Those are that's plural. That's a group of angels. Yahweh not an angel. So then you say El, like I was saying, all these angels got El on the end of their name. That means strong one. That's what they're L for. That's why they got Michael L, Raphael, Gabriel. Even the word angel got L in it. So these are angels. Yahweh not an angel. You first have to understand that. Then Lord only means master. The word Lord only means master. It can be a lowercase with a lowercase L. That means, we know that it's an angel, regular angel. But Michael is the Lord of hosts. So you're gonna see L, capital Lord. Then when they talking about Yahweh, it's all caps, Lord, all caps. But when you talking about Michael, it's always capital L and then Ord. And then the other thing about that is understanding that they roles and their characteristics. So we know that when it comes to Michael, he got a sword, right? He got a glistening sword, don't he? Hello?
The only angel I know that had a sword like that I read, that I remember, and I don't know everything or know anything, is the angel that was at the, edge of the garden when they were put out, and it specifically talked about that flaming sword.
Right,
Is that
right.
what you're referring to?
That's Michael. Yeah, but it's before, it's long before that. Michael, he's the one. He's the defender and he's the protector of the Israelites. He's the one with the sword. That's why when he said when it says David has a heart, uh, David has the heart of the Lord, just like a same heart as the Lord. Michael is a man of war, and so David is a man of war. Y'all ain't have no sword. You don't need no sword. It's Michael with the sword. So when you understand that, I'm gonna read a verse to show you what I'm talking about. So if you go to Deuteronomy 32, right quick. Deuteronomy 32. Let me know when you get it.
I got it.
So I'm starting it. I'm in Deuteronomy 32, and I'm going to 40 and 41, but I'm gonna start at 32. And so we're gonna see who this is that's talking. And this right here once you start understanding this, it started unfolding. So 31 says, "For their rock is not our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of apes. Is not this laid up in store with me? See that? Whoever this is, we're gonna see what this is. Is not this laid up in store with me and sealed up among my treasures? You assume it's Yahweh, right? 35. To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their feet shall slide in due time, for the day of calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For the Lord shall judge his people and present himself for his servants when he seeth that their power is gone and there is none set up and left. And he shall say, where are thy gods? See that? Lowercase. That's angels, right? Through their rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings. Let them rise up and help you and be your protection. Now here we go. 39. See now, I, even I am he. There is no God, lowercase g, with me. I kill, see that? I make alive. I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hands. If you don't have the understanding of the scriptures, you think this Yahweh. Hold up. You would think that this Yahweh, right? So look at 40. For I lift up my hands to heaven, and I say, I live forever. So who he lift his hands up to? Is this Yahweh? Who he lift his hands up to? Then 41 says, 41 says, if I with my glistening sword and my hand take hold of judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and I will reward thee that hate thee. Who we just said had his glistening sword?
Michael.
That's him. That's how you know that. It ain't Yahweh. He said all these things that he's doing, you would assume it's Yahweh. But somebody got their mic on. So he says you would assume it's Yahweh, but when you get to 40 and 41, you see who it is. He lets you know 41, if I with my glistening sword, it's Michael. So how you rightly divide it, go back and look at all what he said that he doing. It ain't Yahweh. So you remember that. It ain't Yahweh doing this. So what is his name? We see our forefathers, every time they come in contact with one of these angels, that's the first thing they ask him. They ask the angel, what's your name? Because their name tell you everything about them. So Michael's name means he who is like Yahweh. And from reading these verses, you would assume it's Yahweh, but it ain't him. Then you go to one more. And this what they, how we got tricked off. Believing Jesus. So anyway, Daniel chapter 12. We're gonna bounce off what I just said in Daniel 32. I mean Deuteronomy 32. Now I'm in Daniel chapter 12. Chapter 12, verse 1. You there?
1 second. Go ahead.
So it says, now you say you've been reading the Bible forever and a day, but now that you got that understanding, now look what it says in 12. And at that time shall Michael El, see that? He tell you who it is. Michael El shall stand up, the great prince. See that? All the rest of the angels are prince. He the great prince, which standeth for the children of Israel, of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even at that same time, and at that time our people shall be delivered, saved. So this is the Savior, the Redeemer. At that time our people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. We in book of Daniel, ain't no New Testament right here. So he says, 2, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So he tells you point blank right here who it is. It's not Yahweh. Then in verse 7, it says, and I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand under heaven. So who he holding his hands up to? He holding his hand up to Yahweh. This ain't Yahweh. He holding his hands up to Yahweh. He did the same thing in Deuteronomy chapter 32. He stretched out both his hands to heaven. just like we do to them, because they our Lord, they our master, and Yahweh is their master. So he's stretching his hands out. So right there, you already know when you see that ain't Yahweh. When you see the glistening sword, you know that ain't Yahweh. That's how you rightly divide it. But they've been getting away with all this up until now. Now the Most High then is pouring the Spirit out on his people, and they're beginning to understand these things and break it down. So this our Savior right here. So when they brought JC, he a Savior. So they used him, and they had to do something with the Savior that's in the Old Testament. Denigrated. That's why you ain't never heard this until now. Okay, that make any sense?
It's making sense.
Okay, yeah. So you just when you if you read, if you say I'm gonna read like one chapter, then you got to put your shoes on, tie them up, and every word, right? You got to rightly divide every word, and you get that by every time you study, every time you come in on class, you getting a full understanding out of everything that's happening, because that stuff gonna help you later on in another situation in the scripture. Like I said, understanding that he got a sword, and if it's a man with a sword, it ain't nobody else but Lord of hosts, Michael. He the one with the glistening sword. Like I was saying, it's two trees in the garden. When you break it down, that's two angels. Samuel, that's his name, Samuel, and Michael. And you just mentioned that he had an angel there with a glistening sword, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you rightly divide it. But they got you thinking that it's Jesus, but it ain't Jesus. They superimposing them there, or what they call typology. But we see when you rightly divide the scriptures, is Israel already had a redeemer way in Genesis 1 and 2. They had a redeemer that was right there alongside Yahweh from the beginning. Right. Okay. I hope that helps some.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? Comment? Okay. So like I was saying, this morning, kind of give a little recap from this morning, was in the Friday night room, we was talking about lands in the Garden of Eden, and where it was located at, and then we had somebody that came up with that the Philippines. They was in the process of relocating to the Philippines, and like I was saying, this all cool, fine, and dandy. But I went back, and that kind of led me to this conversation right here today. So I was breaking down, in the scriptures, where the land of Israel is at. Because you got people saying it's over here in America. You got some saying it's in the South Africa, the bottom of South Africa is in the Congo. So I went to Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 6. Let me read that right quick. Okay. Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 6, and it says, I read these on Wednesday night. Matter of fact, I think, Wednesday night for the men's line. So it says in 20 and 6, it says, in the day that I lifted up, this is the Lord of hosts talking, in the day that I lifted up my hands, see that? The day I lifted up my hands unto them to bring them forth out of the land of Egypt into a land that I espied for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands. So he said, he took them from Egypt and took them to the glory of all lands. And so if you did anything, you did anything in high school or in college and did any kind of history, you know how they glorify Egypt. But he's telling you right here, he brought them out of Egypt to a land that's greater than all lands. Even it's greater than the land of Israel. Right? So what I did was I showed them how that it's a portal. Jacob saw a ladder, the portal with the angels coming up and down. That's in the land of Israel. Ain't no portal. That's what a portal at. That's where these angelic beings come into this dimension at. That's where the 200 came in at. And then they went from that portal that's in Bethel, they went to Mount Hermon. All that's in that region, in that same land. Mount Sinai in that same land. That's why he's saying, this is the glory of all lands. Right? And then we went through how the Moses sent the spies out to spy out the land to possess it, and they found clusters of grapes there. And the 2 men had to carry 1 cluster on a stage. That's how big the grapes was. And so, and then he got pomegranates and all this other stuff. So if the grapes was that damn big, the pomegranates and everything else was that big. So then we went to the book of Adam and Eve, where Michael came and brought Adam and Eve a fig each, 1 fig apiece. And then he tells you each one of the figs is bigger than a watermelon. So it's only 1 land that was like that. So when you write the divide that, he says that 4 rivers, these 4 rivers that in Genesis, he tell you about the 4 rivers. And we see 2 of them now. Nile River is one, and the Euphrates is the other one. It's 2 rivers, and they come to a head right up in Egypt. The 2 rivers come to a head. That's why Egypt is so fertile. But when you understand being a gardener and you plant a garden, you need water. So he brought these 4 rivers to a head. That's where the garden is. You ain't got to look no damn where else. The 4 rivers come to a head right there. He planted the garden eastward of Eden, which is Africa, and the water, he had all the water he needed. From them 4 rivers came to a head. And if you look at on any map of Africa, you're gonna see those 4 rivers where they came up to a head at. And he had those 4 rivers come to a head right there to water the garden.
Isn't one of those rivers they can't find it?
Well, they cyborg us, making they think they can't find it, but they there. They just call them
Right.
They
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
them yeah, they there, but they call them one thing, but they there. So anyway, so it's nowhere else on the earth. The 4 rivers come to a head, but right there in Egypt, that's where they come to a head at. So, like he said, it's the glory of all lands. So I'm giving all these examples of all the things that was there. The reason why he says the glory of all lands. And so then I went and I played. I was showing how all this deception that's going on, this Esau is behind it. Like I said, when they left in 70 AD, the Romans gave them safe passage to Spain. And like I said, if you did any kind of history classes in high school and college, you know that the Nina, the Pina, the Santa Marina left Spain, them Edomites. The Portugal was started the transatlantic slave trade. All them Edomites. Everything come out of Spain because them Edomites. So this story about the 10 lost tribes came to America. Them Edomites, they the ones came to America. So all this is jargon that you gotta let it roll off like water on a duck bag. So they concocted another story about the land of Philistine. I mean, the Philippines is the Philippines is where the land of Israel is, right? But when we went and looked at the video I had where he's showing you that Solomon had ships that he sent out every 3 years, and Solomon had a gold mine, gold. Let's look at that right quick. We're gonna expound on it a little more. So you go back and you look at in Genesis, and you'll see that it says, let me get it. Okay. Okay, yeah, it says, I'm in Genesis chapter 2, starting at verse 8, right? And it says, the Lord God, check this out. Now when I read this, you're gonna see why the grapes so damn big and the watermelons and everything else. It says, and the Lord God planted the garden. Lord God planted the garden. See that? That's why it's so big. Planted the garden eastward in Eden. See that? Eastward in Eden. That's the Middle East. And therefore he put a man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made the Lord God. Out of the ground the Lord God made it grow. He made all this grow. Every tree that's pleasant to the sight and good for food, and the tree and the tree also of good and evil, let me see, pleasant to the eyes and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And say, here you go. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden. Yeah, that was the purpose of he put it there for those four rivers came to head. And from thence it parted and became into four heads. And the name of the first is Pisgah, and that is which compares the whole land of Havilah. I'm getting ready to play this video. This name gonna come up. The whole land of Havilah, where there's gold, and the gold that is in that the gold of that land is good. Not only that, there's Buin and the onyx stone, right? And the name of the second river is Gion. So he's showing you just the land right here. We talking about. So when you read this and with rightly divided, you see that Canaan, this land right here, is all the same place. So we know that when they got off the boat, Noah divided the land up between all of them, and he gave the land of Canaan. It wasn't Canaan then. He gave him that land, that same land right here. And Canaan, on his way to the land that he gave him, Canaan viewed this land and stole it. That's why they call it Canaan. It was called Canaan after that. So when he did that, he displaced Shem. Shem ended up down in Ur of the Chaldeans where Abraham was at. So when he came to Abraham in chapter 12, he's fixing everything for what Canaan had messed it up. He's taking Abraham back to the land of Canaan. And I show where in chapter 14 that he make this covenant with Abraham. Let's look at it. It says in chapter 15 and chapter 15 verses 18 through 21. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying unto thee, thy seed have I given this land, from the river Egypt unto the great river of the Euphrates. All right, and then the Canaanites, the Kirizites, Kodites, and all the Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaim. These are all giants. Everything else there big. Yeah, why you surprised the giants? It ain't giants, it's giants there. Everything else there big, humongous. So this is what the giants said. So how we get giants? They came through the portal in that same land. And they went from there to Mount Hermon, and from Mount Hermon they went to Egypt and started sleeping with women. That's why giants are all over that place. There ain't no other land. The glory of all lands. There ain't no other land like that. Okay. So with that being said, I was just proving that point on the glory of all lands. There ain't but one place like that. It ain't here in America. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna play this.
Understand the Bible, even though if you read a few passages before or after, or parallel passages, it often interprets itself. God has planted hints everywhere, and this account is a perfect example. As you will see, this topic progresses to the clarifying of our understanding in many different arenas, leading all the way back to the river that flowed from Eden, correcting the journey of Jonah, and setting straight once and for all the occult written, accepted story of the Queen of Sheba. Through these twists and turns,
you sound good now. Sound good.
You will discover the ancient land of Solomon's gold, which has just recently begun fulfilling Jesus's prophecy regarding its place in the last days. This is exciting, so hold on to your seat and get ready for a wild ride of truth, as this land is no myth, but is real as the nose on your face. Our journey begins in Tel Kassil, modern-day Tel Aviv, Israel, in 1946, just after World War II. An archaeological dig discovered an ancient pottery shard with an inscription. It was written in Hebrew around 1000 BC and reads, "Gold of Ophir 2 or 4, Beth Horon, 30 shekels." This evidence confirms the physical existence of the land of gold called Ophir, as well as 2 Chronicles 8:5, crediting Solomon with the building of Beth Horon. The historians who try to say Solomon never existed just simply have not bothered to look for any evidence. But how does this tie together? 1 Kings 9:26 through 28. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents. And
So notice they left from the lane I just showed you, where the tower, where the Bethel at, and where the giants at, where the big grapes and the big feast. Solomon just left from there, and he going to Ophir, right?
and brought it to King Solomon. Note, Solomon built a new navy just to go to Ophir.
See?
Hiram, king of Tyre, which is in Phoenicia, led the navy for Solomon, which also had Solomon's servants from Israel serving with him. But Solomon had kings of foreign lands bringing him gold every year. Why would he need to acquire more gold? Because in building portions of God's temple, Solomon wanted to use the best gold. Ezion-Geber was on the Red Sea on the east side of the Sinai Peninsula. Wait, if Solomon wanted to go west, wouldn't he have used one of Tyre's already existing ports on the Mediterranean Sea? Or even build one in Israel on the Mediterranean as well? No, the wisest man who ever lived would not have increased his trip by more than 4 times in order to go around Africa to get to the west, when he could have used existing ports to go there. No, he was heading east. Here is a map of the traditional view that Phoenicia, which includes Tyre, only traded around the Mediterranean Sea. But we already know there is both physical and biblical evidence that they also sailed east from the Red Sea to Ophir. We are just getting started. Scholars also have great difficulty in realizing that the son of Cush, whom he named Sheba, is a different person from the son of Joktan, who also bore the name Sheba. The same goes for Havilah, as there is one from Cush and one from Joktan. However, there is only one Ophir named in the Table of Nations from Noah. And we will prove that he and his brothers, Sheba and Havilah, all sons of Joktan, not Cush, lived in the same region, and it was not even remotely close to Saudi Arabia, where Cush's sons, Sheba and Havilah, live. It's like saying all Johns live on the island of Patmos. Well, it would be easier to remember everyone's name, I guess. Now, using such scholarly logic, all pigs come from the land of Ham. We're pretty sure that is not a true statement. What was this gold of Ophir used for? Building Solomon's temple. As even David began acquiring the gold of Ophir and knew its value. 1 Chronicles 29:4. Even 3,000 talents of gold, of the gold of Ophir, and 7,000 talents of refined silver to overlay the walls of the houses withal. This is the passage where David donated 3,000 talents of his own personal treasury to the temple project. This gold also came from Ophir. We are not suggesting that Solomon did not use any other gold other than that of Ophir, but the Bible calls out Ophir for a reason. Now, Ophir was actually a person listed in the table of nations after the flood. Yes, God put all those begats in there as clues in which we may form a proper perspective on many topics. We'll spend a little time there laying the foundation in this introduction. Genesis 10:26 through 30. And Joktan begot all these guys, 13 sons in all, the most of anyone listed in the table of nations. That's of special note. But he begot Sheba and Ophir and Havilah and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan, and their dwelling was from Mesha as thou goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east. For the sake of time, Genesis 10 also lays out that Joktan was son of Eber, which is where we get the name Hebrew, who was son of Arphaxad, son of Shem, son of Noah. So he was Shem's grandson, great-grandson. Note that this passage clarifies that Ophir, Sheba, and Havilah are sons of Joktan. When we talk about Sheba later, you will see this is a crucial point to the understanding of the account of the Queen of Sheba. There is no Ophir in any of these other lines. Both go.
Military gadgets are flying.
Zion Gebir on the Red Sea and not the Mediterranean, just like Solomon, to go east to Ophir. We're going to whip through some other supporting scriptures, as there are many. Is not
How
not a city or an island. It's a direction. Smith's Bible Dictionary defines the Hebrew word parvaim as oriental regions, derived from Sanskrit purva, orient, or eastern, and is a general term for the east. God is giving us directions. Could there be more? Here we go again. Jeremiah 10:9. Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Upaz, the work of the workman and of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men. Daniel 10:5. In Daniel's vision, Daniel writes, Then I lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Upaz. God does it again. Upaz is defined as fine gold, gold of Pisan. Wait, I remember Pisan as one of the rivers that flowed from the river from Eden.
You know.
2, verses 10 through 12. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden. And from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pisan. There you go. That is it, which compasseth, surrounds, the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. Ah, Havilah, the ancient land of gold. Havilah was also the name of the brother of Ophir, who was likely named after and went in search of the ancient land of resources, Havilah, with his brothers Ophir and Sheba. Remember our base scripture. Sheba, Ophir, and Havilah were all brothers, sons of Joktan, who headed east from Mashhad, Iran. But is there a tie that would bind them as settling together? There is an extra biblical source. The Kitab al-Magal, I probably said it wrong, and the Cave of Treasures hold that in the early days after the Tower of Babylon, the children of Havilah, son of Joktan, built a city and kingdom which was near to those of his brothers Sheba and Ophir. Havilah, Sheba, Ophir settled in the same land, the land of ancient resources in which Havilah was named. This is why Job, David, and Solomon knew the gold of this land was good. Who knows? The Bible does not actually specify where Noah or Adam's generations actually lived before the flood and after the fall. Perhaps Adam moved to Havilah, land of resources. It makes sense, and we will discuss this later. There's zero evidence that Adam lived in Israel, nor anywhere near it. The land of Israel was chosen because of Abraham's righteousness, not because of the landscape and the geography. Solomon had kings bringing him gold, probably survived in the garden even longer. We don't.
Military gadgets.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus. Tyrus, as in the maritime kingdom of Tyre in Phoenicia, the one that we've been discussing where Hiram came from? Of course. You mean the brother of Javan, who had the maritime sons? Oh, yes. Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. They were the sons of the Isles. Genesis 10, 4 and 5. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families, in their nation. Not just the known world, the entire earth after the flood. Sons of Noah, after their generations in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. Noah's generations divided the entire earth, not just the Middle East area or the known world at the time. Drew near and came. Where are the isles? East, far, to the ends of the earth. They are righteous men who stand in judgment. Wait, this too sounds all too familiar to something Jesus said.
Okay.
Matthew 12:42. Jesus prophesied. He's talking about. But here's another scripture. But here's more support from scripture.
Military gadgets are flying.
And all the kings of Tyrus and all the kings of Sidon and the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea, Dedan and Tema and Buz, and all that are in the utmost corners. The isles that are beyond the sea, you say? In the utmost corners? Jeremiah 31:10. Hear the word of the Lord,
O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off. Isles afar off? Do you see a pattern here? They are talking about the special land, the Isles of Ophir, which we will prove is ancient Havilah, land of gold and resources. Psalm 97:1. Let the multitude of isles be glad thereof. Ezekiel 27:3. And say unto Tyrus, O thou that art situate at the entry of the sea, meaning Ezion Geber, which are the merchant of the people for many isles. So we have multitude of isles. We have many isles. These are all clues of Ophir, and there are even more scriptures we will not include in this session. So, we know Ophir is a real life land of good gold, bdellium, and onyx after the flood, whose resources were used to build Solomon's temple, named after Ophir, son of Joktan, who headed east into the Orient, which was a 3-year journey for Solomon's navy, who lived near his brothers Sheba and Havilah. These were not Cush's, Ham's sons, but descended from Shem and Eber, Hebrew. Ophir is where the ships of Tarshish travel to get good gold. The best gold was referred to as the isles, afar off, beyond the sea, many, multitude of islands, where Javan's maritime sons Tarshish, Kittim, Dedan, Dodan, and Elisha also settled, likely in search of Havilah, because it was the ancient land of resources since the days of the Garden of Eden, which we will prove. So no, Ophir is the land of post-flood gold and resources. Sheba is in the land of Ophir, and we'll prove this further. Parvaim is in the direction of Ophir, Orient, East. Upaz is Ophir, because it's the gold of the Pison River, Havilah. Tarshish, Kittim, Dedan, and Elisha are in the land of Ophir. Havilah was the land of pre-flood gold, now known as Ophir. So we are looking for a place with lots of islands, with lots of names, 3 years' journey to the east of the Red Sea, beyond the Arabian Sea, known as the Indian Ocean today, surrounded by an ancient river that had the resources acquired by Solomon's navy, that has Hebrew hints hidden in its culture, whose history has been erased. We hope you enjoyed this reflection, and always remember to prove all things.
Okay, so what we found out is that this place Ophir, it's got gold, it's got resources, but Solomon had to travel there. It took a 3-year journey to get there. And I showed you how the Lord took them to the land of milk and honey that's greater than all lands. So there can't be where Ophir, it can't be the promised land or the land of milk and honey, the land of all lands. They went there to get gold, like he said, like I showed you in Genesis chapter 3. He said there's this land called Havilah where there's gold. So Solomon was traveling from the land that the Lord of hosts brought him to, where the big figs and all of that, just like it was big figs in the garden in the very beginning, same place. So Solomon left from that place and went to Ophir, which is it's like it's 3 parts to that. I just played the first part. So you go to part 2 and 3, they're gonna let you know that this land that he's talking about is called the I can't say that word, I lost it. Philippines. It's the Philippines. And if you like I said, you're a history buff, that's the same as the silk route, the silk trade, in the same region where Marco Polo and all them was dealing with. It's not where Israel at in the land of Canaan, two different places. The land of Canaan is where the original Garden of Eden was at. The portal was at. Okay. Any comments? Everybody good? Any comments?
I'm good.
Okay. You get anything out of that?
Yeah, I just need to read so I can bring it all together.
Yeah, just look at that. Like I said, it's he says all this stuff for a reason. Like what he said in the Genesis chapter 3, he already established where the goal at. He told you it's on the Peace. It was on the Pison River, and it's called a place called Havilah, and that's where the gold is at. And like I was showing you, I don't know if nobody caught it, but he said this was fine gold.
It's
Another reason
interesting.
why,
It's
it's
interesting
another
you
reason.
talk about that gold because there's a prophecy about the Euphrates River that's supposed to have a mountain of gold in end times.
Right, exactly. Right. So he says that this gold is the reason why we had a class a couple of months ago. It's a different type of gold than any other place. It's fine gold. And so Hezekiah, that's what brought the Chaldeans to Jerusalem. Hezekiah came. It's a contingent. The Chaldeans came to the land of Israel and came to Jerusalem, and Hezekiah showed them all the gold. They came inside the temple. Everything in the temple laced with gold, with this fine gold. That's what brought the Chaldeans there. That's what Jeremiah told him. You know what I'm saying? You didn't stuck your foot in your mouth. He said they coming back. You went in there, showed them everything. He had spears, and he had all kind of stuff made out of gold, pure gold. This is gold from Ophir. And he showed that to the Chaldeans, and they went back and told the king of the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar about it. That's one of the reasons that brought them there. And he did it in pride, boasting. And that's why Isaiah told him, this move you just made is gonna cost you. Your son's gonna be eunuchs in Nebuchadnezzar's temple, because you boasting, showing them all this stuff, and came back to horny. So anyway, I'm gonna go to Daniel right quick, then I'm gonna close. So this right here is a doozy, because I want to show you something. So this is the Lord of hosts, right? When we get ready to show you, it's the Lord of hosts. It's Michael, right? Let's look at it. It says chapter 10 of Daniel, and I'm reading Daniel came in contact with the Lord of hosts. It says in verse 2, in those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks. And in the 4th and 20th day of the first month, as I was by the side of the great river Hiddekel, then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen. See, this is Michael, this is Lord of hosts, in linen, who was girded about with fine gold from Upas. That's the same gold. So where you think he got it from? This is the Lord of hosts. He got a girdle around his waist with the same gold from that same place. That's that form. Okay. So with that being said, I was going to see if anybody had any comments or questions before we go. Everybody good?
Where in Daniel? What did you just read that from?
That was 10.
Okay.
10 verses 1 through 5. Yeah. So so like I said, once the light started being shined on this, you see the difference. You see the difference in the angels and the difference in the creator Yahweh is the difference in them. And and just by studying and observing and reading what's on in the pages, not what somebody said. You see it's a distinctive difference, and the Bible making a point to let you know that. Okay, so let me do this right quick before I go. I'm in Ezekiel. The man right there just had, he got linen on, right? He got linen on him, and he got a belt. He got a belt around him, or a girdle around him, made out of this gold from Upas, right? That ain't Yahweh. So now I'm gonna show you Yahweh. Okay, here you go right here in Ezekiel chapter 1. Ezekiel chapter 1, I'm in verse 25. You got it?
Yes.
So 25, this is when the Lord came down to see Ezekiel. He's by the river Hedekah, right? Let me see. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so it says, verse 25, and there was a voice from the firmament that was over their head, over these angels' head, when they stood and had let down their wings, and above the firmament that was over their heads was a likeness of a throne, and as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was a likeness appearance of a man. Yeah. Daniel just ran into a man in chapter 10, and Daniel described him. He described him for a reason. So he said, and here go another man that's on top of these four angels, on top of a platform like made out of sapphire stone. He's standing on top of it. Now they're going to describe him. 27. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it, and from the appearance of his loins, even up, from his waist up, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, from his waist down, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and he had the brightness round about him. He ain't got no belt on. He ain't got no linen on. You can't put no linen on him. You're going to burn it up. That's Yahweh. So he go Yahweh right here. I just showed you the Lord of hosts in Daniel chapter 10. They ain't the same. So he made Michael and these other six angels from himself, which he's a pure fire, but they are a little lower than him. So they have flesh on them, but in their eyes, you see fire in their eyes. That's why it says eyes like lamps of fire. But right here, this Yahweh, this the source, where these other seven angels came from. He's pure. He's shaped. He got a silhouette of a man, but you can't put nothing on him. It's gonna burn it off. That's who came down on Mount Sinai. And he told him when he got there, he told Moses, told the Lord of hosts to tell Moses, put borders around this mountain, so nobody won't break through here, coming up here to gaze at me, and I reach out and burn them up. They ain't the same person. So, and the reason he told Moses to give him a warning, because they think it's business as usual. They think it's just like these other beings they dealing with, but he ain't like these other beings. So he gave Moses orders to put borders all around the mountain where nobody can come up there, because he ain't got no other choice. They'll get burnt up. Just who he is. Okay. So that's Yahweh in Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 25, 26, and 27. And Michael is in Daniel chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if nobody has no questions, I'm gonna cut it off right there. And I see everybody at Tuesday at 8 o'clock for the Sabbath class. I mean, not for the Sabbath class, but for our advanced Bible study. Okay. I say shalom. Shalom and another shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.